Hi everyone, quick programming note for a couple of reasons. First reason being, apparently this is how you're supposed to do a podcast, is you say what's going to happen at the top, and then you do the intro. And then second off is I need to give you guys some notes. I know that I've been promising an over and under reactions pod with some guests all week. Shocker to no one, go ahead and overreact if you want to, but that's not coming today. It'll most likely be out Monday. Give me a couple days to link up with everyone that I wanted to chat with. Give them enough time to spill the beans, and then if they're not any good, I can go in and edit it all. But didn't have time to do that during the week. I've been trying to figure out exactly what the niche of this podcast is. And I think Monday through Friday, the daily grind. I like the idea of just updating everyone on who you can expect to see playing that night. If you are a sports bettor, I do want to put some things on your radar that you might not be thinking of as far as what's impacting lines, maybe what to watch out for. But then the egotistical side of me also wants to give you my opinion on what's going on with the storylines in the league. I don't think that there's enough content every day to give long storyline takes on, so I'm going to try to limit that to once a week. And if I have some big picture ideas, then I'll save them for Monday for a bigger pod, and we'll just do it that way going forward. Please leave any feedback that you have on that idea in the comments on YouTube, or I think that you can comment on Spotify now, or on Twitter at The Grind Podcast. Apparently I've been plugging that wrong, which is obviously why we haven't gotten many more followers, is because I've been plugging it wrong. But it's at The Grind Podcast, not at The Grind Pod. But that's what I'm thinking as far as this podcast going forward, what the format will be, at least in the near term. I'd like to cover other sports, but I feel like I've kind of gone all in on the NBA so far. And NBA is just more fun to watch than the NFL is. But I just kind of wanted to let you, the listeners, know what I, the content maker, was thinking of what to do with this. I want it to be useful to people that listen to it. I want it to be quick and informative on a daily basis. And it gives me a reason to go through all of the games thoroughly before I go in and make my bets. Because clearly, if you go and look at my old bets from this past weekend where I didn't do that, I really suffered, went 2-10. I'm also making some graphics. I think I said that, maybe I mentioned that. I'm trying to turn this into like a video podcast every day. I'll probably just be throwing up like shot charts and advanced stats stuff. Maybe a couple of highlights every now and then, because apparently the NBA doesn't care if you post that stuff on YouTube, because they're like, hey, if someone's going to go through the trouble to watch something that's not live, then more power to them. But it is just me running this thing over here, and so every little thing takes a lot more time than you would imagine, more time than I would imagine. And we are only a week and a half into this thing, so I think it's going pretty well so far. It's been fun to do. So I just wanted to update you guys on what's going on and what to expect going forward. And I'd love some feedback on that if you have any thoughts, comments, or concerns. And now, with all that being said, welcome to The Grind.
There's a 2-hour window I get to see my woman. There's a clock ticking on her, it ain't my friend. Work wasn't easy, but we've been fit. Oh, I'm home, and she's off to bed. Oh no. Money, my baby liar. Money.
Welcome to The Grind, everyone. I'm your host, Devin Murray. How about that intro, huh? Hey, take it easy, Dev. You're classing up the joint. Now, if only I could get some ads in here, but I don't think that they run ads for podcasts that get 20 listens, which we're not to 20 listens yet per episode, but we are closing in on it. All right, real quick. I'm just going to toot my own horn a little bit on my bets yesterday. And really my bets for the whole season. If you follow the Twitter account at The Grind Podcast, you would see that I got on there this morning. I actually didn't get on there this morning. That's a little thing called a scheduled tweet. But I updated the season-long stats for the betting record for the Grind Podcast, everything that's been documented on Twitter, and the overall records 35, 32, and 31. Now you might be saying, wow, Dev, that's a lot of bets. Are those prop bets? No. Nope. Those aren't prop bets. Those are spread bets. Those are legitimate game bets. Those are predictions on what's going to happen in the game. Those are no money line bets. I've never given you anything worse than minus 140, and that's if I buy a point or two on it. That's a total of 68 bets. There have only been 67 games to bet on in the NBA so far. I think there's been a total of like 4 games that I haven't bet on, and I've had like 3 hedges. I guess like 5 hedges now. I've placed more spread bets than there have been spreads in the league. And I'm hitting over 50%. Even if you include my 2-10 stretch over the weekend. Still hitting 51.5%. You take out that crap when I was just mailing it in. I'm hitting 59%. Go find me a program that does that. Go find me a betting system that does that. Some of those betting systems, you get 1 play a week. I got you action on every game. Every game. There were 13 games last night. So we can't recap all of them. We'd be here until Friday. But just real quick, I gave you Cavs on the road +6. They won straight up. They're injured. They just lost to New York at home. And then they had to go play them in Madison Square Garden. I called that. Are you kidding me? I called out the Rockets' first win of the season. Rockets -2.5. Boom, cash. I called out Timberwolves to give the defending champs their first loss of the season. Minnesota +2. I told you people. That was a fishy line of the night. I told you something was up with that line. I gave you Raptors +5. Raptors +5. 85% of the bets were in on the Bucks yesterday. I told you that Toronto could get out and run on the Bucks. Guess what the fast break points were? 26-5. And because I checked the injury report, because I'm on my stuff this season, I told you that Jalen Durant was questionable for the Pistons last night. I told you if Jalen Durant was out for that game, it was going to change everything and that you didn't want to touch Pistons -3.5, so we stayed away. What happened? Blazers upset. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I made my point. Okay. And let's get back to reality a little bit. Wasn't a perfect night. Didn't go undefeated. And on the podcast yesterday, I did say that I was going to take the Bulls. But I always leave myself room. So you got to follow on Twitter for the locked in plays because I put it on Twitter whenever I put my bets in. And so even though Kyrie did come out, the Kyrie wasn't going to play, I stayed on the Mavs anyway. The Bulls just aren't that good. Went 7-4 on the night, and hilariously, I continue to lose on the Celtics and the Grizzlies. I am a combined 0-9 on those two teams. My record is 35-23-1 without those two teams, which is an awesome percentage. So let me be critical on myself here because I've dove into a lot of stats. I feel like I've got a good idea of what's going on in the league right now. And the two teams that I'm 0-9 on, who are they? Let's take a step back and look at it. My favorite team that I literally said yesterday, I just don't want to live in a world where the Grizz are 0-5. Well, guess what, baby? We're living in it. And then, a couple of episodes back, if you recall, my rule from last year was you don't take the Boston Celtics on regionally televised games when they're double-digit favorites. And that has bit me in the ass now, I think 3 times? And so that's just me being bad at gambling. I need to take a step back from the Grizzlies. I need to take a step back from that Celtics rule, because apparently that isn't how we're operating this year, which is good to see. Good for the Celtics. The new rule for me for this season is apparently if you're up 19 at home in the first half and I bet on you to cover, I need to go in and middle you. That's twice now. It's happened on the Suns game, happened on the Thunder game yesterday. Funnily enough, anytime I bet on a team and they get blown out in the first half, they don't ever seem to come back. It's weird. It's kind of weird. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to say about last night. It was a good night. It was a fun night of basketball. Oh, wait. No, it's not. One more thing. The one game that we didn't bet on, besides the Pistons game, which was a stay away because of the late scratch, was Clippers-Lakers. I told y'all that was a fishy line. Went from 3 to 4.5 up to 5, 5.5 on some books, even though all the early money was coming in on the Clippers. And sure enough, what happened? Right before the game, people just load up on the Lakers and they win by 5. They either cover or push, depending on whenever you got them. I was locking in my 7-4 gains from last night. Didn't want to touch it. Just sat back and enjoyed that game. As bad as the regular season was last year, as far as just not a lot of compelling matchups, we have gotten some gems so far this year. Early season NBA has been an absolute delight this year. All right, so let's get to tonight's matchups. The first game on the docket is the Raptors in Philadelphia at the 76ers. The line opened at 8.5, and it's currently moving a little bit. I saw that it got up to, it was started at 8.5. It's down to 7.5 on some books. There's some money coming in on the Raptors. There's been no surprises on the injury report. Pretty much everybody's healthy other than Otto Porter Jr., which might not seem like a big deal, and I'm not saying it's a huge deal, but he did knock in 2 threes last night. Weird thing to note here, Philadelphia's only played 3 games. Pretty sure they're the only team in the league that's only played 3 games. And one of the games that they've already played was against the Raptors. They won by 7 in Toronto. The matchup to watch tonight is the perimeter D versus the Sixers shooting. The Sixers are 3rd in the league in 3-point shooting, but again, that's only on 3 games. I mean, so far, Tyrese Maxey's shooting 56%, Tobias Harris shooting 55%, Embiid's 43%, PJ Tucker's no longer on the team, but he was shooting 40%. DeAnthony Melton's only shooting 25%. The strength for Toronto is the pressure that they can put on you with their wings and their length. Seeing the way this money's coming in a little late, I think 8.5 is high. I'm going to take the Raptors +8. Next up, we've got the Pelicans hosting the Pistons. This line's had some movement for good reason. Started off at Pelicans -8. It's down to Pelicans -5 on most books. And that's because Zion Williamson is out tonight with rest in what I think is probably the game of the night. Hate that we're not going to get to see Zion tonight. Both of these teams played last night in different cities. Detroit played at Detroit, lost at home, and the Pelicans had that big comeback at Oklahoma City last night. And so Zion is out. Now I know what you're thinking. Let me rush it. Let me go over and let me hammer this line before it moves further down. Let me go grab the Pistons. And I know you're thinking that because I was thinking that. Whenever I saw that, I literally just brought up my sportsbook account. And I was like, let me go bet the Pistons. And I was like, wait a second, Dev. This team is more than Zion. The Pelicans don't just go as Zion goes. If anything, he's maybe sometimes a defensive liability more than he's an asset on offense. Sometimes. Detroit just got embarrassed at home. Jalen Duren's out again, most likely. The Pistons role players played terribly last night. James Wiseman couldn't stay on the court with foul trouble. Killian Hayes somehow missed shots that other people were taking. Like, not just his own shots was he missing, but other shots that other people were taking, he was missing them. It was insane. So I checked myself real quick, and I was like, it's not just about Zion. But since it's not just about Zion, Trey Murphy's still out. Najee Marshall's still out. Brandon Ingram's questionable. Jose Alvarado's still out. So we get what has to be the worst point guard matchup so far this season with Killian Hayes against Jordan Hawkins. And once again, I think the matchup to keep up with here, or the stat to keep up with here, is 3-point shooting. The Pelicans have the number 1 3-point defense in the league. But if you dive into that a little bit deeper, they've played some bad shooting teams. The only good shooting team that they played, Golden State, they lost to. They played Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State shot like crap. SGA was 0 for 5 from 3. They played Memphis in the opener. Memphis didn't shoot well. No surprise there. And then New York, who they can really bother with their length. I think the Pistons are probably a bit more capable than all of those teams from the outside, other than Golden State. With Zion out, 5 points is a lot. I wish I could have gotten it at 8.5. I think that this game, as far as the spread, is a crapshoot. If you're going money line, obviously just go Pelicans. But we pick every game here. So let's go with the Pistons, +5. Subject to change. Next up, we've got the Magic at the Jazz. The Magic on their West Coast road trip are laying 2 points to the Jazz, is what I'm seeing. It opened up as a pick'em. Most of the bets, all of the money is coming in on the Magic. I don't really like siding with the public here. I don't really like siding with the money here. But I think that Jazz win is pretty suspect. I mean, do you really get any credit for beating the Grizzlies these days, especially at elevation? My one worry here is that Orlando's at sea level. That's pretty tough. They're making the full trek, but they've dropped the first 2 games on this road trip. You got to think they come in focused. They haven't played well, but they were in Los Angeles. Lights were a little bright for them. Now they're in Utah. Nobody cares about this game. This one's not on anybody's radar. I don't expect the Jazz to shoot as well as they did last night against the Grizz. Not going to overthink this. Give me the Magic, -2. And our last matchup for the night, we've got a revenge game for the Suns. Playing the Spurs again at home. They said run it back. They've had a day to stew on it. KD's had a day for his face to heal up after Trey Jones smacked him in the face. Did you guys see that the league came out and said that wasn't a foul? Are you kidding me? This line opened at -7. It's now moved to Suns -8, -9, 9.5, depending on what book you're looking at. And all of the bets, all of the money is on the Suns. Suns dominated the first half of this game last time, 2 days ago. And then, in my opinion, like I said, I think they came out really flat in the second half, weren't too interested. I think they're going to be pretty interested first half of this game. So, for the first time on the pod anyway, we're not going to take the full game here. We're going to take the Suns -2.5 in the first quarter. I think that there's a chance that the Suns get out to a good lead and then get uninterested again. And I've just watched too many 19-point covers come back and bite me in the butt this week. So we're just going to get this out of the way early. Either the Suns are locked in and they want to kill the Spurs. They're upset about the game the other night, and they know that they can outclass them. They know that they're better. They're going to execute. Frank Vogel's had 2 days to put together a defensive game plan after seeing Wembanyama. Devin Booker's been upgraded to questionable. So I think that if the Suns are going to cover for the full game, then they're definitely going to come out in the first quarter and put it to them. they're going to come out and take it seriously. And if they're not going to cover for the full game, there's a chance that they come out in the first quarter and try to just establish themselves. 3 points? I'd love to get it at 2, but you can't really buy points on quarter bets. So we're stuck with the 2.5, but we're going to take it. Okay, that's it for tonight. That's all of the bets. Only 4 games tonight. A little bit lighter. We will be back to a full NBA slate tomorrow. As always, thank you for listening. Share this podcast with your friends, your family, your pets, your enemies, anyone. Please like and subscribe on YouTube or Spotify. Leave us a review. Engage with us in the comments. Let's spice it up a little bit. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at The Grind Podcast, and we will see you tomorrow.
Money.